Well, hello again. It's me. Time for another selling point nugget that might very well save you from losing countless sales. The title of my little lesson today is peg leg proposals. Now, when you think about somebody with a peg leg, you think about a pirate with a patch over his eye and a wooden leg standing there saying, "Arrgh." And so in the selling world, a peg leg prospect is one that you end up going to see that is not the one that has the power of the pen or the decision-making ability or the buying power to get the deal done. So why would you go and spend time and effort seeing this person knowing that you can't get the job done with just this one person there? And so today I'll be using a residential example as we talk about this, and you can apply that to commercial and anything else any other venue you might be selling in. But the thing about it is that we've got to realize that when we think about the decision makers or the buying powers, that we're not just talking about a couple that's a husband and wife or a live-in situation, or him and her, whatever it might be. But in many cases, we're talking about situations like in my family where my youngest daughter, even though she's up in her 40s now, when her and her husband make a major decision about something, they need a new air conditioner or they need to get new windows put in their home or whatever. If they're talking about something major at all, then they always bring me in. And so I'll get a call from my daughter, "Dad, could you come by here? This guy's coming today to tell us about blah, 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 blah." And so I become part of the decision-making process. And if the representative, if the salesperson doesn't know that, then he's going to be in a heap of trouble. He'll get over there and go through his whole dog and pony show, and then my daughter's going to say, "Well, this is interesting. I need to get with my dad on this." Also, think about situations where you have an elderly person, maybe a widow who doesn't have a husband or a mate there to help her make decisions. And so maybe she's got a brother who lives across town. And anytime some decision making comes up for her, that she always defers to the brother and has him look over her shoulder and help her from keeping to make a poor decision. And so if we don't know these things, then we're going to blindly go into an appointment and the situation won't work out well for us. And so I want to give you an example of how that happened to me. And this was long ago, in my second selling job, and I was selling financial products. I got licensed to sell insurance and investments, and did that for 12 years and made a real good living. But anyhow, this one day taught me a lesson that kept me from losing many more sales in the future. And it was an appointment that I had made to go talk to a couple about their insurance needs. And so when I got there, the guy was there by himself. And I said, "Well, where's Mrs. So-and-so?" And he said, "Well, I thought she was going to be here, but she's gone to the grocery store. And so, you can wait a little while. I expect her back within an hour." And I'm thinking to myself, I don't have that kind of time to waste. And so against my better judgment, I said, "Well, look, why don't you and I just sit down and let's go over this, if that's okay with you?" And he said, "Oh, yeah. He said, "because, I really make the decisions around here anyhow." Well, how many times has a man said that, and then a woman trumps him in the end? And so, we're sitting down and we're chatting away, and we're about 15 minutes into this thing, and the door opens up, and the wife comes in with a handful of grocery bags and setting this stuff down. She looked at the husband and she says, "Honey, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well," and all of a sudden his voice went up 2 octaves, And he mealy-mouthed her about, well, you know, we had this appointment and you weren't here. And so I thought, she said, come back here a minute. I want to talk to you. And I heard shoes clicking in the hallway as they went down the hall and the bedroom door shut. And so I'm sitting there thinking, rut-row, I think I've messed up. And so in 3 or 4 minutes, he comes back out again and he says, Doug, I think I made a mistake there by doing what we were starting to do. And let me give her a chance to cool off, and I'll call you back, and we'll set this thing up next time, and I'll make sure that she's sitting here with us. Well, that was in 1981. I'm still waiting on the call. So I lost that sale, but in doing that, it taught me the lesson of saying never, ever should I, make a peg leg proposal. And I would be better off in resetting that appointment or in making sure that they understand the importance of this. And the way that you can overcome most of that is just very simply when you make the appointment. Let's assume that you're on the phone making a telephone appointment, or you could be in person with somebody. And you just ask. We've said over and over again that questions are your best friend. Simply ask the question. Say, well, Rex, when my wife and I make important decisions, we always huddle up together and we look at this kind of as a team. Are you guys sort of like us? And your answer is going to tell the story, because in most cases they'll say, yeah, pretty much. We kind of do that. I wouldn't go out on my own and do something, nor would my wife, with any kind of financial impact. And then I would just say, well, great. Then, I don't have to tell you the importance of when I come that she or he needs to be there, so that all three of us can look at this together at the same time, right? And make sure you get that commitment. Make sure he says, yeah, absolutely, you're right. And so if you don't take the time to ask that simple question, you're going to be in trouble. And it's not going to work out well for you. So just never ever make a peg leg proposal, because it's in the end you're going to lose many more than you'll ever sell. So take the time to ask the question and determine out who the other players are. And if my daughter had been asked that question, she would have told the guy up front, well, even if we like what you have to say, my dad needs to look at this. We always defer to him in things like that. He's been a homeowner since Hector was a pup. And so, then the guy would have hopefully said, well, why don't you invite him over and give him a seat at the table and let's all talk about this together, if he'd have been smart. But we don't typically do that. Sometimes we get so excited about somebody's willing to sit down and talk to us that we'll sort of take whatever is available, and that's not smart. So don't let that happen to you. So, get them all there.